This charismatic family man worked his way to the top in order to pursue his dream of joining the NFL. When times got tough, he leaned on the wisdom of his elders to keep his head high and continue moving forward. Meet Jim Laslavic.
Jim Laslavic, Sportscaster. My father's from Croatia, and my mother's family's from Croatia and Slovenia, and they met in my hometown of Etna, Pennsylvania. My grandmother owned a saloon, and my dad worked in the steel mill, a pipe mill in Etna, in my hometown. And then I went to a really small high school. We had 59 kids in my graduating class, so there were plenty of opportunities. So we offered 3 sports only for the boys. It was football, basketball, baseball, so of course I played those. And I was able to be in the school plays, and I ended up being the editor of our school newspaper. I mean, it was like the land of opportunity. And one of my best moves was to talk this junior, and when I was a senior, actually when I was a junior, I talked her into joining the staff. And a few years later, I married her. So my wife Susan worked on the paper with me, and then she became the editor the next year. So it really was a land of opportunity. As a matter of fact, when I was recruited by Penn State to play football, my brother Joe took the recruiting trips with me because my father didn't drive. Having been raised in Croatia, he never got his driver's license. And so it was a little unusual to be there with your older brother who was, had just completed college and had a very successful football career of his own at California State College in California, PA, where he was a team captain and had been a 4-year letterman. And so he really had a really good feeling about Penn State for me. I remember I was recruited by Duke University, and it was my first airplane ride. I went down to Duke, and they showed me a great weekend. We were on the floor at Cameron Indoor Stadium for a basketball game, and introduced us at halftime. Really made a big deal about us recruits. Went into the coach's office, and he offered me my scholarship. And then I flew home, and I got off the airplane in Pittsburgh, and I'd just been on my first plane ride. I'd gotten kissed by a Southern belle, and I had a great time at Duke University. I said, "Mom, Dad, I'm going to Duke." And my mother said, "No, you're not. You're going to Penn State," which is how things were done at my house. So by the time I got there, the season was just about ready to get started, and we practiced against the varsity, and the varsity was undefeated, coming off an undefeated season, and they went undefeated my freshman year. So we were playing against some terrific players, and it was a big adjustment because honestly, I was a little late for my first meeting because I couldn't figure out where all my pads went. We didn't have that many pads in high school, honestly. And somebody had to show me where to put these certain pads for your hip protection, because we just didn't use them, and we didn't have them. So I was on my way to the first meeting, and Joe Paterno, the head coach, was sitting there with a guy who had recruited me, Bob Phillips, who was a terrific man. And I'm running out of the freshman locker room, and it was on pavement. I had new cleats on, and I slipped and fell, and I skinned my leg. And it was so funny. I'm bleeding before my first practice, and I'm thinking, "Oh my God, did I make the right decision? Am I going to make it here?" And Joe just looked at Bob Phillips and said, "What do we got here, Coach?" We had a number of guys, like 7 or 8, who were drafted, but I was the first of the Penn State players to be drafted. It was the 3rd round. And so R.W. Hickey was the beer distributor in town, and whoever got drafted first would get a keg of beer. So we set the keg of beer up at the fraternity, and everybody just came, and it was like an overflow crowd. We had so much fun, celebrating the fact that I was going to get a chance to play, or at least try out for the Lions. And then as guys were getting drafted, they were coming over too because they knew where the beer was. So it was a fun evening. But I went to the rookie mini camp, and I flunked my physical. I had never had anything wrong with me, never had any serious injuries in football until I was halfway through my pro career. But I had a back condition they were concerned about. It was a vertebrae that hadn't completely formed, and it could lead to paralysis. Obviously, in my case, it never did. And so I remember my cousin Tom and I went up for the rookie orientation, and they sent me home. And I got home, and I was bawling in my mother's arms. I said, "I can't believe I came this close, and I'm not going to be able to, live out my dream of trying to play for an NFL team." And so we were able to petition the Lions either to give me my free agency, and I'd try to sign with another team, or if we could get 2 other doctors who would say that my condition was fine for pro football, that I'd be able to play. And so, and I was encouraged. The first doctor I saw said, "Yeah, you're fine. This is." They took it to the extreme, and so then I asked the Lions and I asked my doctor to recommend another doctor, and 2 out of 3 said I was fine. So it meant that I was a little late for training camp, which was fine. Didn't really miss out on much. But yeah, that was I'll never forget that night crying in my mom's arms thinking, oh my goodness, what am I going to do now? Well, we actually had a really good defense in 1975, my 3rd year in the league. We had worked together, and my rookie year it was rocky. My first start was really awful. My second start, we shut out the Packers 34-0. Largely because the rest of the team realized with a rookie middle linebacker in there, they better all play better, and so we all played really well. And so that second game was really quite special. But in 1975, our defense was ranked number 1 for most of the season, and we really played well. I mean, that's a real special memory. I really felt I belonged at that point. I really did. So then in my 5th year in the league, after my 5th year, I was traded to the Chargers, and that was precipitated by a knee injury. I blew up my knee my final game of my 4th season, and so the next year I lost my starting job to my old college roommate, Eddie O'Neill, good guy, and he had been a 1st-round draft pick, and I'd been the starting middle linebacker, and he was starting a little bit on the outside, and then when my knee slowed me down, and I really couldn't play much my 5th year, he took over, and it was obvious to me that he was going to be just fine. So that's when I requested a trade and ended up in San Diego. I was offered to go back. The Packers wanted me too. I thought that was great. And I had a friend on the coaching staff, and I called him and said, John, I've been offered a contract with the Packers. He knew about it because he was the defensive coordinator. I've been offered this contract and for another year. And he said, listen, we're not going to chase you off. If you want to play, we know you'll work hard, and you're not going to start, obviously. You'll play special teams for us again, and you'll fill in whenever we need you. And I said, great, John, it's good to know that. And I said, and the other thing I have going for me is I have this job offer to go into TV. And he goes, okay, with the knee situation you have and the fact you've played 10 years, give it some thought, give me a call back on Monday. This was on a Friday. So I went to a church at Sacred Heart and on Sunday, and at the Catholic church is a sign of peace. You turn around, you shake hands or greet people. So I turn around, and 2 rows behind me is Joe Paterno, my college coach, in Coronado, California, at the same Mass on the weekend when I'm trying to decide what I'm going to do. It's a big decision, to walk away from football or to, whatever. So we walk outside. He doesn't even say hello. The first thing Joe says is, Jimmy, when are you going to retire? You've played long enough. I worry about guys who stick around too long after knee problems. I looked to the heavens and I said, tomorrow. Crazy. No, I ended up Channel 8 working for Jim Holtzman, surrounded by some incredibly talented reporters who were great storytellers and terrific news anchors. Honest enough with myself to know that I struggled mightily, and I did walk in at one point and offer to quit. I said, Jim, it might not be working out, huh? He goes, what do you mean? I said, well, the feedback I'm getting isn't good. Thankfully, it was before social media. Otherwise, it would have been an avalanche. But he said, no, you'll be fine. Just listen, by the end of the year, you'll be fine. So the end of the year came, and it was Christmas night. And, when you're just starting out, you work all the holidays, especially if you work with Ted Leitner. Ted was the sports director, an amazing guy. And so the phone rings. I'd just gone off the air. I was looking forward to going home for dinner. I had to come back and do the 11 o'clock. It's Christmas night. And I picked it up, and I said, it's probably somebody who wants to tell me how bad I am. And sure enough, it was. The guy said, you're awful. Why are you doing this yourself? He said, you weren't that bad a football player. The USFL starting up, you could probably find a team that'll take you. You could play some more linebacker. And I said, what do you do for a living? He goes, well, I'm a mover, and I'm very good at what I do. And I know it. And I'm a viewer of TV sportscast, and you're really bad at what you do. And so I said, really, you needed to call me on Christmas and tell me this? He goes, I think somebody should tell you. I said, okay, so I hung up the phone. That's when I went in the gym shortly after that and quit. So he said, no, you'll be fine. So I was at Channel 8 for 6 years, sharing an office with Ted Leitner, and so a year goes by, and it's Christmas again, and I'm working, obviously, and the phone rings, and I think, oh, I shouldn't pick this up, but I picked up the phone. Same guy. I said, really, you ruined my Christmas last year. He goes, well, I'm calling to tell you that you're not bad. You might actually make it. Merry Christmas. It was the sweetest thing. I thought, I hung up, I said, that never happens. I begged Neil Darrow for a job. Neil was the general manager. Now, I heard there was an opening. And so I called Neil and had a little interview. And Marty Levine and had been a co-worker of mine at Channel 8. And he was the main anchor at Channel 739 back then. And I asked him for some advice. And at the time, Larry Himmel was actually working at Channel 739 too. Those two guys encouraged me to apply for the opening. And I had a real nice meeting with Neil Darrow. And he was between news directors. And so I was actually hired, and then they hired the news director, which was a little, made for an awkward month or two until the news director realized that we were on the same page, and it worked out really well. A lot of hard work went into getting to where I was on the football field and also in broadcasting. So I really do believe that this is a land of opportunity. I've said it 3 times, I think, in this interview. But given the opportunity, you know, it may not be the opportunity you want at the time, but if you work hard at it, that's the great advice I got from my brother and from others when I was younger, that, you know, when you're on a football field practicing, always give 100%, whether the coaches are looking or not, for 2 reasons. One, because coaches see stuff even when they're not looking. And number 2, if you always work hard, it'll just be part of your DNA. And I think that's true in life too. You have to just always apply yourself, even when you think people aren't looking. You know, try not to take the shortcuts. You know, do it. Try to do it the right way. And I think it eventually adds up. Hi, I'm Sportscaster Jim Laslavic, and you're watching The Block.
Although Jim has since retired from the NFL, be sure to catch him on Sports Wrap every Sunday on NBC 7 San Diego.